Now let's talk about controlling your curves. And unfortunately, in order to do this, I need to talk about something I really didn't want to talk about just yet, but we'll do it. Go out of edit mode, hit Control N, go into your simple brush here. We're going to talk about ZSphere Basics because we're going to end up using Z-spheres to control curves, as well as doing a lot of other cool things. But for now, we'll just use the basics to get us through this. So I'm going to drag out a Z-sphere onto my canvas, go into edit mode, and we're not going to get too detailed into what Z-spheres can do. We'll get to that later. But essentially what I want you to know is if we're in draw mode, you can drag out on a Z-sphere and you can hold down shift and you can snap it to the original or to the previous, we'll call that a child-parent relationship. So there's a parent, here's a child. You don't have to. You can just drag one out and then you can hit W, that goes into move mode, and you can move it out. You can hit Q to go back into draw mode and you can draw out from the end here. You can hit W, you can move this one out, or you can hit W and you can move any of these things here. You can also scale, so if you go, so W, E is scale, R is rotate, so if you go to E scale, you can scale just a joint, or you can click on the bone and you can scale down the hierarchy. Same thing with rotate. You can rotate just a joint, or you can rotate an entire hierarchy if you click on the bone. Same thing with move. You can move just a joint, or you can move the entire hierarchy if you drag a bone. If you go back into draw mode here, you can either click and drag on the end of these things like this, and you can make more and more and more and more, or you can click in the middle and you can make a Z-sphere in the middle of these, and then you can hit W and you can move these things around. Now, again, we're going to get way more into Z-spheres later on. I'm just giving you base functionality so that we can basically drag out a chain of Z-spheres. But let's hit Control Z. We'll go back to our original Z-sphere here. There we go. Another thing you can do is you can turn on X symmetry. So you can use X symmetry here to kind of pull out, and then you can move this. So you can, and if you pull out from the top with Q selected, that's your draw mode. That'll go down the middle. So you can make like a little person here, make arms. You can make hips, and you can see I'm holding down shift if you want to keep these consistent. We can just drag all the way down, and then to our feet here, if we want to scale these feet down, we can just scale them down. We can hit Q, we can make knees, and then hit W to bend them out. Same thing with the arms. We can just drag these all the way down to where the arms are going to go, and you can use W to kind of move these things around. We can put a little bit of a hip, kind of a curve the spine a little bit and move these legs back here. Now we need to make elbows, so hit Q, tap in the middle, hit W, now we can bend these elbows back. So you can just make a really quick humanoid, and just sneak peek, you can hit A, that'll turn it into Dynamesh geometry. You can go down here to adaptive skin, turn Dynamesh resolution down to 0, and then turn preview off and preview on, which that's what the A key does. A is an apple. So then you can actually make this into geometry. You can hit make adaptive skin. It'll throw the skin out here, and then you can start sculpting on it. But that's further than I wanted to get. Really what I want to talk about is we have a Z-sphere here. We just want to drag out another Z-sphere, hold down shift to maintain that if you want to. So we're just going to make a Z-sphere chain. We can make it really long, hit Q, divide this thing up, hit W, and you can use this to kind of wrap around objects or whatever you want to do, and we're going to use this eventually to control our curves. Now one thing I want to warn you about early, because it'll trick you, is if we have a Z-sphere here and we hit A to go into adaptive skin preview and we go into polyframe, it's like, okay, give me a Dynamesh, that's fine. So I'm going to go down here to adaptive skin. I'm going to say make adaptive skin. It's like, all right, now I'm working on my adaptive skin here. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to control drag, tap, and we can just go ahead and move this out a little bit. And if I want to, I can even go through here and I can control drag again, and it'll re-Dynamesh this here. So I can go through here, I can make changes, and I'm Dynameshing, and I'm going through here and I'm sculpting on my mesh. And now let's say I want to do an operation like mirror and weld. So I'm going to go to geometry, modify topology. Wait, where did my modify topology go? I go into my custom menu, no modify topology, and also I've got all these little weird holes in here. What happened is you're still in your adaptive skin preview. If I hit A to go out of that, it's going to ask you if I want to discard my changes or keep my change. I've hit no. Now I'm back in my Z-sphere mode. I can go back into my preview here, and you can tell it to keep your sculpted changes, but you're still only working on your Z-sphere adaptive preview skin. So if I go up here to my subtools, you're going to see I'm still working on my Z-sphere. My adaptive skin, when I said adaptive skin, make adaptive skin, that threw out another subtool right here. This is the one you want to be sculpting on. This is just geometry. If I hit A on this thing, nothing's going to happen. There is no adaptive skin preview because it's just geometry. However, on the Z-sphere, which looks identical, will let you sculpt on it, will let you re-Dynamesh it. When I hit A on this one, it turns back into a Z-sphere. So if you're ever in a weird position where you're sculpting on something and your geometry options are like hit or miss, or you're missing some, check and make sure you're not just sculpting on your ZSphere adaptive skin preview, and you're actually sculpting on the adaptive skin geometry. Now, of course, you can use Z-sketching as well as insert mesh brushes on your armature mesh. So if you have an armature here and you go down to adaptive skin and you say make adaptive skin, and then we go over here to our skin Z-sphere, we have X already turned on. Because of our adaptive skin settings, it is going to be a Dynamesh. So in our geometry menu here, Dynamesh is turned on. So feel free to go through here. I'm going to go ahead and just like deflate him down a little bit. I'm going to drop his Dynamesh resolution a bit and redrag. So now I've got just a basic mesh I can go through here, and I can start sculpting or start building up and inflating as needed. But if you want to start massing him out with insert mesh brushes, you can do that as well. You can hit BI, brush insert, go to your primitives, hit M. Let's go ahead and grab insert sphere. So you can go through here and you can start adding on to this armature little pieces like this. So we can put on some deltoids here. You can hit W, you can control drag this off. We can scale it down. Let's turn on LSim. We can scale this down. We can turn this into a bicep. We can use our move brush here. Again, hit W, hold down control. We can make some triceps back here. Let's use the move brush. We've got some triceps. Now if you want to split these off, if I turn on polyframe here, you're going to see if I control drag, our original Dynamesh had different polygroups where the different Z-spheres are. So if I hold down control shift and tap, it's just going to grab a single polygroup here. But I can go down here to visibility, grow all. That's going to grow every single vert welded object, which is going to be your essentially your initial adaptive skin. Now if I control shift and then drag in my document, it's going to invert that. So here's the muscles that I've added. So that's an easy way to isolate these muscles. You can also hold down control shift and isolate them. But if you had a bunch of different polygroups on here, say if we went to polygroups, auto groups, and then do a quick geometry, modify topology, mirror and weld across the X. Now we've got these different polygroups here and here. You can do a group split, or if you just want to isolate this body, you can control shift tap it and then do a subtool split hidden. Another thing I like to do, again, if you did have complicated polygroups in here, you can always hold down control shift, just grab just a little section of this guy. And then remember when we were down here into visibility, grow all, if you hover over that, you're going to see the hotkey for that is control shift A. So just grab a little piece of those polygons and then do control shift A. That'll grow it to the entire object. That's all of these pieces that are vert welded together. All these faces are welded. So again, just grabbing a little piece of an object and doing control shift A will grab it all. And now you can simply go up here to the subtool split menu, do split hidden, and now your muscles are in a separate subtool. And now that you learned about ZSphere Basics, don't forget, you can hit the comma key to go to your lightbox, go into project, and you're going to have a ZZoo project in here. And this is a great way to start a base mesh for almost anything you can think of. Just pick anything in here, like we'll take this mantis spheres, load this up, and just like with any other ZSphere thing, you can go in here and you can hit R to rotate. You can rotate around the bones or the individual joints here. You can hit move, and you can move these joints around. You can hold down Alt, and you can click. These ones are a little bit different. You can hold down Alt. I'll go into draw mode and you can click Alt to go through here and start deleting these. If you go in here to adaptive skin, it's using classic skinning and has inserted local meshes for the connector meshes. So it's got actually a sphere and a cylinder. So when you go into polyframe mode, you're going to see it just stretching those objects along the joint positions just to kind of give you that cool look. So when you go in here and, let's say, you know what, I don't want them to, I don't know why, but I don't want them to have arms. And then we're going to go in here and you can, again, rotate these things around, change them however you'd like. And when you're ready to start sculpting on them, when you go into adaptive skin, I like to work with just the actual meshes. So I'm going to turn polyframe off here. I'm going to go to Dynamesh resolution to 0, density of 1, hit make it, oops, there's your preview if you want to see it. And then you go down here to make adaptive skin. It's going to put, you're still going to have your Z-sphere selected, but out here is going to be a skinned mantis Z-sphere. This is your adaptive skin. X symmetry should be on if you had it on originally. And now you can go through here. I like to go through and hold down Control Shift and then grab like a select lasso and just grab these leg pieces, Control Shift A, which is visibility, grow all. And then you can have the legs, and then I'm just going in here to split hidden, sorry. And then we can go down here and we can split these legs off. You can also hold down Control Shift and select rectangle, Control Shift drag to invert that, and go through and just select these pieces that you want there, and then do another split hidden. Same thing for these little back end areas here. You can say split hidden. So a lot of cool stuff you can do to kind of break your mesh up. Now, these are geometry pieces, so you can't move them around like Z-spheres at this point. But at this point, you can go through here and you can say, you know what, I want these things to be all Dynamesh together. So geometry, Dynamesh, turn down blur. This is Dynamesh this. Let's raise that resolution up just a bit. So we'll undo that. Dynamesh, there we go. So now you start going through here and, you know, sculpting in whatever you'd like based on those base mesh pieces.